Return what is mine, or suffer the river's curse.
Obinna and his friends lay sprawled on the wet ground, their eyes wide, hearts pounding, trying to comprehend what had just happened. Their shadows were gone, vanished as if stolen by the night. Their voices, when they tried to speak, returned to them warped, twisted into sounds that made their ears ache. Fear had settled like a living thing, curling around their minds, whispering reminders of their crime. They knew the elders would soon discover the events of last night, but the thought of facing the python goddess's wrath again made them tremble. The pot was shattered, its pieces scattered across the village, and Obinna realized the goddess would not rest until it was whole again. Amara ran from her home to the council hut, her bare feet slapping against the muddy paths, breath ragged, her heart pounding. The elders sat silently, sensing the weight of the warning she brought. Obinna, he must be stopped. The river, she is in his home. She is everywhere, and she wants the pot restored. The oldest woman, Nena, nodded gravely, her wrinkled hands clasping tightly around her walking staff. The death has begun to claim him, she said, voice low and steady. The river spirit does not forgive. We must prepare ourselves before the darkness spreads. And the pot, we must find its pieces before it calls for more than just fear. Meanwhile, in Obinna's compound, the air remained heavy and unwelcoming. A faint green mist clung to the walls, and the faint hissing of the python goddess echoed like a living heartbeat. Obinna and his friends huddled together, terrified to move, too afraid to call out for help again. Then a sound like water rushing over stone filled the room, and a figure emerged from the shadows. It was the python goddess herself, her enormous form twisting and flowing like a living river. Her eyes glowed green with fury, her fangs dripping the same strange liquid as before. Return what is mine, restore the pot, she hissed, voice echoing in their minds, or the river will take more than your lives, your hearts, your homes, your lives. Obinna tried to speak, to beg, but words would not form. His friends clutched him, shaking as the green mist thickened, pressing against them like invisible hands. Outside, the villagers noticed the mist spreading from Obinna's house into the streets. Small animals fled, birds cried out in alarm, and the river itself seemed to writhe as if alive, carrying the goddess's anger through the land. At the council hut, the elders prepared a ritual, calling upon the spirits of their ancestors to lend guidance. They knew this was no ordinary curse. They gathered sacred herbs, sprinkled water from the river at dawn, and lit small fires to protect themselves. We must act, Nena said, voice trembling with authority. The boy and his friends are not yet beyond saving, but if we delay, the river will claim more, and the pot must be made whole again. Back in Obinna's compound, the python goddess began circling them, her massive coils moving with terrifying grace. Every time she passed, the mist thickened and the ground beneath them seemed to shift. Obinna felt an unbearable weight pressing on his chest. One of his friends fell to his knees, clutching his head as a vision struck him. He saw the river flooding the village, destroying everything in its path. Buildings cracked, crops withered, and villagers screamed, all while the python goddess watched with glowing eyes. Pieces of the pot floated in the air around her, shimmering green, calling to her like fragments of a soul. Amara, sensing the urgency, ran back to Obinna's house. She did not hesitate. Guided by the whispers of the river, she approached cautiously, clutching a small talisman the elders had given her for protection. As she neared, the air grew icy and the hissing intensified. Shadows stretched across the walls, forming shapes that seemed almost human. She called out, voice shaking, "Obina, you must listen. Restore the pot. Stop this madness." The python goddess turned her gaze towards Amara, and the mist recoiled slightly. For a brief moment, the villagers watching from a distance saw her eyes fixed on the young girl, and they felt a strange calm amid the terror. Amara, gathering courage, stepped closer, holding the talisman high. "You will not take more than necessary. Please, leave them," she shouted. The goddess hissed, and the green light around her shimmered violently. Then silence. Obina and his friends, trembling and paralyzed, saw her massive form ripple before dissolving into mist, flowing back towards the river. The pieces of the pot scattered across the village glowed faintly, waiting, calling, demanding restoration. Their shadows returned. Their voices became their own, but the fear lingered. They knew this reprieve was temporary. The goddess had left a mark on their minds, a warning that the debt was far from paid. The villagers gathered near the river that evening, the elders chanting quietly, the fires reflecting off the water. Amara stood beside them, holding her talisman. Obina's friends bowed their heads in shame, and Obina himself could barely meet the gaze of the villagers. The river flowed calmly, but its depths hid an unspoken threat, a promise that the goddess's wrath would return if the pot remained incomplete. As the moon rose high, casting silver light over the village, a ripple ran across the river, carrying with it a whisper that chilled every soul near its banks. The debt will be paid, or the river will take more than your treasures, your hearts, your homes, your lives. Obina's laughter was gone forever. Fear had claimed him, a fear that would drive every decision from that moment on. And as the villagers retreated to their homes that night, they knew the storm that had once roared outside was now alive in every corner of Umu-Okorie, watching, waiting, promising that those who dared disrespect the python goddess would face a darkness beyond imagination. The pot must be made whole, or the river will take more than anything they could imagine. Of Umu-Okorie walked to disaster. The river, once full and clear, had dried to a trickle, leaving the villagers without water. Their livestock lay dying in the fields, eyes dull, bodies stiff, and the crops wilted under the relentless sun, despite the rains that had always nourished them. Obina and his friends stood among the destruction, hearts pounding, realizing the python goddess's wrath had gone beyond warnings. The shattered pot lay in scattered pieces, glowing faintly as if calling to her. Every shard pulsed with anger, and the air around it shimmered with a green haze that made breathing difficult. Whispers of the goddess echoed in their minds. "Return what is mine, or more will die." Obina's friends trembled. One, Chike, tried to comfort a goat, but it fell lifeless into the mud, and his scream pierced the silence. Another piece fluttered in the air, pulsing violently, and the green mist rolled through the village, curling around houses, twisting like living snakes. From the mist, the massive form of the python goddess appeared on the riverbank, her eyes burning emerald bright, her massive coils rippling with menace. "You dare disrespect me?" she hissed, voice echoing in the minds of every villager. "Life has been given. Life can be taken. One mistake, one disrespect, and death will follow. Return the pot exactly as taken, or pay with your lives." That night, the village mourned as one. Obina's closest friend, Ekena, failed to heed caution. While trying to move a shard, a green tendril shot from the mist, striking him down instantly. His body lay still, eyes wide with terror, and a hush fell over the Umu-Okorie. Obinna fell to his knees, clutching his chest, knowing they had lost someone forever. Fear transformed into desperation. Amara, holding her talisman tightly, whispered urgently, "We cannot face her with just fear. The elders must act, and we must seek the strongest guidance. The river will not forgive until the pot is whole again." At dawn, the elders convened, their faces grave and lined with worry. They spoke in hushed tones of the consequences: the dried river, dead animals, rotting crops, and Ikena's death. "We cannot fight her with fire or steel," Nena said, voice trembling. "The only path is the old ways. We must seek the strongest native doctors, the ones who know the spirits of the river, the forest, and the earth. Perhaps they can show a solution before more lives are taken." Obinna and his remaining friends, trembling but determined, accompanied the elders, carrying the pot shards carefully. Amara stayed close, her eyes scanning the mist, feeling the goddess's presence grow stronger. The journey to the first native doctor was perilous. Along the paths, shadows twisted unnaturally, animals fled, and whispers rode the wind, calling names, promising death. Villagers dared not go near, and even the bravest hunters hid in their huts. Every step was a reminder that the python goddess was everywhere, watching, punishing, and waiting for mistakes. At the home of the first native doctor, an old man with eyes like dark water greeted them with rituals of protection. He examined the shards, muttering incantations and burning herbs, the smoke curling like serpents. "The debt is greater than you imagine," he said, voice low and heavy. "The pot is alive. Its pieces will resist your hands if not approached with the exact knowledge of the river's power. One wrong move, one act of pride, and death will follow. You have already lost one boy. There is more to come if you are not careful." Obinna and his friends shivered, guilt and fear weighing heavily on them. They learned the python goddess had begun to extend her wrath beyond the river. Wells dried, livestock perished, strange illness spread among the villagers, and crops rotted overnight. Every day without restoring the pot made the curse grow stronger. The village knew that the river would not stop until the pot was whole and its debt fully paid. Amara guided them, interpreting the old man's warnings and whispers carried by the river. She insisted they must remain united, follow every instruction exactly, and never act out of pride or fear. Obinna's heart ached for Ikena, for the lives lost, and for the fear gripping the village. But he also felt a spark of determination. They had stolen something sacred, and they would have to face the consequences fully, however terrifying. Night fell again, and the village slept uneasily. The river was calm on the surface, but its depths pulsed with a green glow, reflecting the goddess's vigilance. Obinna lay awake, shards of the pot at his side, knowing that every moment of delay brought more death and suffering. The debt was far from settled, and the python goddess's patience was as endless as the river itself. The village of Umu-Okorie had learnt a terrifying truth. No treasure stolen from the divine could go unpaid, and the river would take whatever it deemed necessary until the debt was fully returned.